Good evening. Welcome, Tampa Fishing Outfitters Live Fishing Report. Got my buddy Rick down on the end. Prieto's in the house.
I'm here.
Captain Jason.
A little late, but here.
Late, but here. And Captain Travis is pushing all kinds of buttons back there.
It's got our CPU down.
Got
behind
a CPU
whatever that
going.
is.
Behind the board.
Right.
No.
So we'll see what happens here.
Sounded important, though, didn't
Yeah, it did.
Very
I
important.
think it's something we should.
Citizen Patrol Unit, I think, is what it's for.
Right. But we got a cool episode tonight, guys. We're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to get into our fishing reports to kick things off. Then we're going to be talking grouper fishing, specifically inside of the bay. So, grouper everybody can get to.
Yeah.
And then we're going to end things with a little bit of a gift guide, something we've got going on here in store that can help you if you're searching for gifts for an angler, or you need to put some things on your own, Santa's wish list. If you've been a good boy.
I got a big wish list. I don't know if anyone's
Yeah,
gonna bite on it.
Yours is
Right.
Mustang related.
Yeah. Well, that one's already been fulfilled.
Really?
Yeah. That's a money pit there. We don't even want to go down.
So yeah, we got plenty going on. Man, it was cold today. It's gonna be cold tomorrow.
Yeah, I got a trip tomorrow. I was trying to move to Friday, but the afternoon is supposed to warm up.
Yeah.
The winds are supposed to be down tomorrow, which
It's a good bite today.
You fished today?
They ate it, yeah.
Cool.
Had a good bite.
I figured today they'd eat. Did you end up getting baby shrimp?
I got shrimp, bought shrimp, and ran across Matt out there, and he gave me a scoop. And did better on shrimp than I did whitebait.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Cool. That's
Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, the snook were eating shrimp like whitebait, but I wasn't chumming.
Right.
So
Yeah, sometimes
Just put 'em out there.
I think the hardest part with that is you get dialed in on what you do all the time, and
Don't get him started, Chris. Jesus.
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I just hey.
Keep going what
supposed
you're
to-
saying. Just keep
Actually,
going. Keep going.
a lot of people found that useful. So
Yeah.
they did. You
I
should
know.
read the comments.
I read the comments.
They're like,
It
good
is
to know.
useful.
My pump blew again. Chris, don't get me
I
started.
just don't want to get. I don't want whatever curse it is that seems to have gotten everybody to get me, because they've been good to me. Pumps.
Yeah.
I'm an oddball. I'm still using the older ones, but
Yeah.
I did have issues with. I was running some of those in the Triton, and I had issues with
Yeah.
it. But,
No, I'm.
years ago.
I found it funny that the label said that, but yeah, sometimes you get what you do every day, and then you got to do a kind of a twist and a turn. And you're like, especially it seems like the older I get, the more you kind of get in a groove of what you do.
hate to get out of it.
Yeah, it's like so I don't know, it is what it is, but that's good to know that they bit.
Well, let's get into it. Tell us what went down.
We caught.
Rick, you're the one on the report here.
You
Come
got the
on.
report.
Oh,
None of us
well.
fished today.
Break the ice here. Come on.
I had the same
Spill the
guys today as I
beans.
had Monday, and they're regulars, but one of them is in town from New York, and I didn't really want to fish today.
Yeah.
Because
I didn't.
It was blowing. I thought he was hiding from me all day. We talked yesterday, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll be out there." And I said, "Man, he's in that skiff running where I can't."
I thought
go
about
today.
it, man.
But yeah. But anyway, the guy's flying back tomorrow.
Right.
He came down for 2 days fishing, and we did very good Monday on snook and trout, and then today it's like, well, we ain't going for the trout.
Right.
I can't get to them. I'm not unless you just want to get beat up. We caught a bunch. I think we caught 9 redfish and about a dozen snook and some jacks and some sheephead. And nothing big though.
Good mixed day though.
The only big fish we caught was a jack.
a shrimp
But
day. What you can.
yeah,
You know.
and I told it's funny. I told him before we started, Travis, and we're headed to the first spot, and I said, Travis tells me I'm too impatient. I got to be more patient today.
Especially fishing with shrimp.
No, I'm telling them.
Especially with
I'm
shrimp.
telling them. I said I got to be more patient today because I am not patient. And
I'll tell a story after.
yeah, you
Go
can
ahead.
tell the story, but anyway, so I did. I put the brakes on. I was patient, and it paid off.
Caught
In
some
fact,
fish.
it's funny because the one spot we caught redfish in 2 spots, and the one spot that we caught redfish, I said, I'm thinking to myself, man, we got to be going. We got to go somewhere else. We got to go. And I said, 2-minute warning.
Right.
Then they hit. You get a hit.
Boom. And,
Yep.
we ended up catching 8 redfish in that spot.
Right.
So after, I mean, I'd have been gone 10 minutes before that. But anyway, so the patience paid off. But anyway, bite was good. I got shrimp.
What kind of water
loaded.
temperature were you looking at
It
today,
was
Rick?
63 this morning. I don't know what it was this afternoon. And the water,
Didn't warm up
the
too
water
much
felt
today.
warm all day on my hands when I was getting
Right.
baits out.
A
So
little warmer than the air.
It's interesting,
Yeah.
yeah, because we're gonna have, this morning it was chilly. I wouldn't say it was cold. I mean, it was cold to us, but it wasn't cold in
I don't
terms
think
of
the
cold.
fish weren't really freaking
But
out.
it was chilly, and then it didn't really warm up.
Mm-hmm.
And then tonight it's going to drop again. We're looking at low 40s in the morning. So I chose not to fish today, but I'm going to fish in the morning.
But it's going to warm up tomorrow. So.
But tomorrow's going to warm up pretty good. It all depends on what that wind does.
Yeah.
I mean, the wind tomorrow is going to be the X factor, in my opinion.
Well, I think
It's
it's
gonna
supposed
determine-
to be 8 knots tomorrow. 'Cause I'll look because I call my customers.
It's
so,
calling 8 to 12 on sail flow, but
Yeah.
you know what that means.
Well, I went
you
offshore
know?
Tuesday, and whatever they called for, I can tell you that they were off.
They called it wrong, huh?
It was honking.
Dude, I seen
Generally
waves about as high as my tower floor. I actually pulled the plug early. We had 1,000 shrimp.
What day was this?
Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
Yesterday.
I was 12 miles offshore.
Yeah. Wow. Really? I wouldn't even have gone Tuesday.
Well, they
I
were
think it was calling
calling
for a little bit more than 8 on
no,
Tuesday.
on sail flow. They
Oh,
were.
okay.
I checked it 10 times,
Yeah.
and the problem. Some of the problem was I think there was some residual stuff from Monday,
Sure.
and
Oh,
I really
Monday was
didn't.
Monday was bad.
Bad.
Today
Yeah.
was worse.
Yeah.
Well, I think there was some residual waves because of the direction, and then it was windier than what they were calling for. What was weird is it was kind of one of the weirdest wind situations I've ever seen. I got in and it was nice, but you got out there, it was like 2 different days.
Yeah,
It
it's that
was-
residual stuff. I've seen that happen.
Well, no, it was blowing out
Yeah.
there too. It wasn't just like rollers; it was like rough, like there's current wind. But we got 2 hogs and a bunch of grunts, and then I almost nose dove the 26 on a following sea on plane, and I said,
Yeah, you know it's.
I mean, there was some waves that were. I will tell you, the Rodan helped me out there though. We were in some
It did?
bad stuff. I wasn't throwing an anchor.
Hell no.
I was pretty impressed actually. I was like, "There's no way this thing's gonna work." But when you're offshore, it's not like the bay where your bow's like this. It's kind of like
True.
it was
Yeah.
coming up, but you're kind of like this. But
Your nose stays a little flatter.
Yeah, but with wind that much, it just seems like your trolling motor's constantly trying to.
Oh, it was. You would ramp up, then
Yeah.
it ramped down. It ramped
Yeah.
up, but I mean, I was dropping down. That line was straight up and down. But
Cool.
we got 2 hogs. I think we weren't out there long. It ended up being let's go to the wharf and have some beers.
Yeah.
But it was gnarly. So one report was wrong. But supposedly tomorrow it's supposed to come down
Yeah.
in the morning. I'm going to fish the afternoon, so I pick them up at 12:30. I'm leaving my house at probably 10 or so, and try to make it happen. But hopefully it's down in the morning if you're fishing in the morning.
We got a full day lined up for tomorrow. We'll plan on getting up early and getting a little chilly and going out there and seeing if we can catch some bait. If not, we're going to run in and get some shrimp, and then I'll take the nets with me on the trip. And the area that we're going to be fishing is sort of known for having some white bait in the mix in the wintertime, and so we're going to hopefully get it in the morning. If not, I'm going to be looking for it all day and see if we can't get some. And like Rick said, you may not need it. It's going to be one of those days where
Okay,
water temperature is certainly going to be the deciding factor on A, if the fish are going to bite, and B, where I'm going to go. We talked, and to follow up with a story that Rick was saying about being patient. Last year, kind of a funny story. So last year, Rick and I ran a trip, and it was one of those days where even if you had white bait, it just wasn't going to matter.
Yeah.
We'd fished consecutive days in some colder weather, so we decided to both stay in the river and fishing with shrimp. And I sat in one spot and literally watched Rick ping pong around the entire river, and I may have fished 2 or 3 spots, and he goes, "Man, was your bite as crappy as mine was?" And I said, "Man, we caught like a 5-pound sheep's head. We caught a pompano. We caught some trout.
That's funny.
Caught some mangrove snappers." And he's going,
Man,
all around.
you'd have thought I'd have seen him one
Yeah.
time when I went
and I
blowing by
mean,
him.
Rick was just getting with it, man. But
Oh, I just have trouble doing
you
it.
play that game, it's always a tough thing, especially as a charter captain. If you're out there on a fun day, you burn a half hour, you burn an hour of your time. It's not as significant as it is when somebody's paying you to do it. And so it's always a little more stressful from a captain's perspective this time of year, certain days, because you have to make the decision of, are we going to wait this out? Are we going to do the bump and run game, or are we going to kind of slow roll the whole fishing thing? And so for me personally, when it's cold, I do a little more slow rolling, just because I know that the fish aren't as active, depending on what I'm fishing with. Sometimes even chum, you're not going to get the fish fired up, and so I tend to have a little more patience in the wintertime. But we're going to go after some trout tomorrow. Going to go after some redfish, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to catch some snook once we get into the afternoon hours and that water starts warming up. The one thing that I will say is that what I've noticed over the last week of fishing is that these snook are getting shallow. Shallow. If you can find, shallow sand or an oyster bar or something to that nature, that's where those fish are going to be once the sun gets up, and that's where they're going to feed the best. Yeah, they're going to go lay on the bottoms in some of these canals in the mud bottom. They stay warm, but it seems like the fish that have been active have been the ones that have been in that shallow water once the sun gets up.
Especially getting that sun on them.
Once they get that sun,
I was going to touch on that in my report.
The sand sort of warms up quicker, especially with the clear water that we've had. I don't know if anybody else has noticed it, but I mean, instantly the water went clear.
Even with all that wind we've had, there was places today that tucked in.
And I think
clear.
My opinion, this time of year we've seen negative tides, and this water's flushing. We're getting a good flush out and a good flush in, provided we don't have terrible winds. But it's really cleaning the bay out. It's pushing it out, bringing it in, pushing it out, and when you push it across that grass, coupled with these colder temps to knock down all the algae and bacteria in the water, you're going to get clear water. So something maybe we'll talk about when we do some tips is clear water fishing. A lot of my customers always ask about that. What do we do different, from spring to summer to fall to winter?
There's a lot of variables.
And there's some things that you're going to do different when you're targeting fish that are in clear water. A lot of guys will give up on them and say, I can see them, they're not eating. And if you sort of play with it and you figure them out, you can be successful. So maybe when we get to the end of the show here, we'll do some tips and tricks. But
to kind of go along with what you're saying, we had a couple today that we actually, which, I mean, this ain't no big deal. It happens all the time. But we actually don't – I don't worry if I can see fish about them seeing me, because we had fish close today that we watched eat the bait. I'm like, here he comes. Boom, kind of thing. So
the one thing I will add, and then you can follow it up, is the birds. It always happens this time of year where these terns just get super aggressive, especially if you're fishing with whitebait and you like to chum. You're going to have issues with terns this time of year.
Sounds like we had similar days this week then.
Yeah, them terns, I mean, they just you end up having to fall off into a deeper pothole where those baits can get down to get away from the birds.
One good turn deserves another, though.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. So is it my turn?
It's your turn.
All right. Follow that up. No, we fished Upper Bay through the weekend and into Monday. Still doing a lot of trout. We mix in some grouper fishing on a fun trip. But on Monday, I told you guys I struggled getting bait, up in my neck of the woods, and had to make a run, get in some deep water, get it there. From one day to the next, it was kind of crazy. But the bait that I got was bigger, and I said, you know what? Been watching these snook in these shallow waters in the afternoon, so we're going to go mess around with some trout, maybe some redfish we can get them to eat first thing in the morning. But the group that I had, they were talking about they didn't really want to keep any fish, which was great. They wanted to catch maybe some trophy snook, and been seeing a lot of fish, in that 30 to 35 inch class, just in good numbers, up shallow in sand where you could just see them from a mile away, and haven't had a whole lot of luck getting them to eat. But on Monday, it happened. Every place we bounced to, we were able to get 4 or 5 of those fish to eat. But one thing you said is, you're throwing out that chum when it starts to cool off a little bit. They don't seem to get as active. That was definitely true. We weren't seeing fish blow up. We were seeing fish ignore a lot of bait. So as we kept working through those pods of fish, stop chumming. Let's just get 2 baits in there and get them out there. So that's one thing that worked for us. To get them to eat. So everybody on the boat, was able to get a snook over 30 inches. I had a young kid who'd never saltwater fished, a regular client, first time bringing their kid out, and he got his slam for the first time, which was nice, with a Hail Mary redfish at the end of the day. But, bait's definitely getting tougher where I'm at. Put me in a pickle. Monday.
Once that water really starts falling out of there and it gets cold, it's such a shallow area that bait just won't stick around in that cold water.
And I think that's the issue that we had, going through the weekend is each day it started getting, shallower and shallower right at that time where you need to get out there and get the bait. So you don't have the real estate anymore, in one area I felt like the bait's right there. I just can't get to it, and it was true. Somebody waited on the tide to come in that I talked to, and he ended up spanking it an hour later. I just didn't have the hour. I had to make a run and get it. Bait by 275 close to 4th Street. Lock that in.
Lock that one in.
Thanks, Manny.
I won't be making that run.
No, I won't be.
How far north on the east side of the bay have you seen?
Yeah, seen what? I didn't.
Yeah. All of it?
I've
seen all of it.
I've seen it all.
No, if you want to, expand on that, Rob, we'd be happy to answer it. There was also a question for you, Jason, on the hogfish. Somebody asked the depth.
Yeah, 45. We're about 45 feet.
Cool.
We were gonna go deeper, but
Is that how far we're going when you take us?
possibly.
Okay.
You should thank me that I didn't take you. I didn't want to be there.
I still haven't caught one yet, so.
I saw Jeff at the boat show. He came by and checked out the new Canyon 28.
Yeah, he said he saw it.
With his kids, and I was talking to him a little bit, and he said that y'all were getting ready to go out and do a trip offshore, and I said, this weekend it blew, buddy. I mean, Saturday and Sunday was honking. And you were talking about going Monday, and this was Sunday when I was talking to him. I said,
well, they changed.
Have fun, boys, because it's gonna be fun out there if it keeps blowing.
They bumped that report around all weekend, and I probably, looking back, there was one day that it was good and it wasn't good, and I probably should have looked at every other day around that and just said, we'll go later. But I kind of got fixated on going.
Yeah,
it's the one thing I actually enjoy about fishing.
Yeah.
But we did get 2 hogs. Yeah. It was bad.
I just had some of those Facebook reminders pop up on some of those offshore runs from last year.
Yeah.
We did one.
Those were all December trips we did.
We normally, Cuz was actually just talking to me and kind of alludes to what we're going to talk about here in our next segment. We'll talk some grouper fishing, but normally every year we'll plan a trip, me and him, and we'll go out and get us a couple grouper before season closes. And so to sort of cascade into what we're going to be talking about in the meat of this show is going to be talking about some grouper fishing.
Yeah.
And season's going to be coming up close. This cold water and colder weather has really got these fish pushed into the bay.
Yeah.
A lot of guys have been successful with it. I know James just went out and did some grouper trolling and was successful. We've caught a few. Not even recently, but here in the last month, we caught quite a few live baiting on the bottom, big pinfish, big white bait, stuff like that. I just really hadn't got into the trolling thing this year just because inshore fishing has been still pretty good. But it is something that if you are a grouper guy or you want that nice fillet, I mean, a lot of guys have been, heartbroken about snook and redfish, so you can fall back on a grouper and get you a slab of grouper if that meets your daggum right. It does, buddy.
Yeah, we fried it up. I'll have to.
Grouper is probably one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Trout's really good.
Be honest with you, I haven't had grouper in quite a while. If I don't catch it, I'm not going to go buy it or really order it. And
you're a captain now. You can't afford it.
Yeah, I can't afford it anyway. It's hamburgers and hot dogs from here on out. But tasting it again, I can tell you the next time I get a chance, I'm going to go get back and try and get some more.
Yeah, we got some small
good.
grouper too when we went out. Just some reds and nothing big. It was just we so rough. But we did get.
We can tell you had a good time, man. It's like,
dude, that was
you don't really want to talk about this trip anymore, do you?
So me and Will was on the boat. So we both charter for a living. And we had our other buddies, and we had some adult beverages on the boat. And about an hour and a half on the trip, when we left, we came out the wrong way because we were running south, and we came out of Pass-A-Grille. And I'm like, why didn't we go the other way and come out of Egmont?
Yeah. I do that all the time. I always make the wrong
So we
choice.
already, and we got out there in about 3 hours. Everybody was like, "Oh, it's gonna calm down." My fear was this was gonna get worse because the wind report was showing it getting worse. And I kind of looked at Will, and he looked at me, and I'm like, "We're done." They go, "What?" I'm like, "Dude, we're done. This is." I just started thinking back to the football players, and which that was way worse conditions, but it was that bad, and I was outside of my comfort zone anyways. Out
Well, you
there.
guys don't ever take and you didn't have any type of device, did
we
you?
did.
Or you buy one? Did you buy one of
No,
those?
Jeff's got one.
Oh, okay.
I'm
okay.
gonna buy one, but no, we had all the precautions as far as safety stuff. But I just it was just hard to fish. Like, I mean, I was getting knocked around. I'm like, it was bad. So we kind of pulled the plug and
Probably the best you did, you know, to
Yeah.
be honest with you. But Bo,
No,
we're
the-
going to get to that.
the
We're
best
going
Well,
to
would've
before
been not
before
going.
we get to Bo, Rob come back and said bait. How far north on the east side of the bay have we seen bait?
there's bait pretty far south. You just have to deeper water.
How far north though?
I give up, bro. I swear.
How far north was the question? It's pretty up there. You're going to start seeing it pop up around the bridges. It's on those flats. I just didn't want to deal with it that morning, but it is up there. If you want to wait it out and let
on
that
the
sun
east side of
guy-
the bay, like the south shore.
north. I think he's talking about
He's talking about-
275
Right? When
area.
you say
but-
east side of the bay to me, I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
But
Not
Bo,
East
we're going
Bay.
to get in that grouper trolling down to the nitty gritty here in the next segment. We're going to
We
take
are
a
the
break,
East
pay
Bay,
some
ain't we?
bills. We'll be
Huh?
right back
The East Bay,
and
right?
get into it.
Guys, we'll be right back. Hang tight. All right, welcome back, guys. Tampa Fishing Outfitters Live Fishing Report. Myself, Captain Travis, Captain James, Captain Jason, and old Rick down there.
Over it.
Old Red. Guys, we're here in the studio talking some fishing. It's a little chilly out there. It's going to be colder in the morning. But, as promised, we're going to talk about some grouper. Can be done in rough weather. Can be done in cold weather. In fact, a lot of times the bite is a little better sometimes in this nasty conditions. So,
Definitely.
let's just dive right into it, guys. I'm going to let James sort of follow up. I know you just recently went out and did some grouper trolling, so you'll probably have a little bit more accurate as far as color, speed. But I'm a 3 to 5 mile an hour kind of guy,
Yeah.
and I like bright colors.
Yep.
That's
I'm-
where I'll
you
go
know,
with it.
I'm the same. The one. So we had.
I'm done.
We had Bo. Yeah, you're done. All right. Put it behind the boat and go. Bo just kind of touched on that. Was like, never done that. Looks interesting. How do you do it? What equipment? So I think we should probably back up and talk about the equipment. You're going to need some heavy-duty equipment. This isn't going to be your snook redfish gear. It's going to require a pretty stout rod. It's going to require some heavy line, whether it's mono or braid. I'd say mono, you're probably looking at, somewhere 30 to 60 pound mono. Me personally, I'd probably stay up around that 50 number. And then braid, I'd probably say 50, 65, or 80 as your main line. So just keep that in mind. That's the type of tackle, rods, and reels you're going to have to match up to the line. So, whether it's conventional or spinning, it's going to need to be a rod that's line rated for
Any
that
difference?
range.
Any difference? Because this goes back. This goes back a little bit. But any difference that you see between braid
Mhm.
and mono
Absolutely.
and trolling?
Well,
I see a big difference.
Yeah,
but
it's huge. And it all has to do with the diameter of that line. It's going to affect the depth of these plugs. In fact, one
And
of these
stretch.
guys, one of these guys. So we'll get into the ones we have up here, but there's actually a chart here on the back of the packaging, and we'll get into that lays it all out. Depending on what line choice you make, if it's mono, it's braid, and the different pound test, how that's going to affect the depth of these plugs. Because, the plugs are rated. Probably I think most of them are rated for like a mono number. I know this one certainly is.
I'd probably say most of them are. Most of the offshore guys are still using mono, unless you're just a bottom digging fool.
Yeah.
But mono tends to be a little more receptive to bottom fishing and deep water fishing. But anyhow,
Well, you were talking about the stretch, and that's one aspect of it, and it can be a little more forgiving. But for the braid, I mean, if you're somebody who needs to get that plug deep, braid's going to give you that advantage. So, anyways, I'm using, I would say, don't go under 80-pound leader. I'm just running mono. I'm not making it too, I'm not wasting 80-pound fluorocarbon on these guys. I can tell you that. I know there's people that do, but for me, we actually had a 100-pound mono the last time I did it, and that tends to be what I use. We've got 1 liter split.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's
As long as it's stout and as long as, you can afford, one of the things, if you're going to be bumping structure, whether it's reefs, channel edges, all that, it's going to make contact with something, and especially if you get a fish on. So it better be something that can
Tough.
that can stand up to the abrasion.
Or you're going to be going through $30 plugs like candy.
Yep. And then outside of that, you really need to, the one thing is when you're coming in and you're going to purchase these plugs, you've got a staff anywhere you're going to go get these, hopefully here, or one of the other stores from our chain. They're going to be able to coach you through this and kind of match it up, ask you where you're fishing or whereabouts, what depth, and get you in the right plug. But that's something you need to match up as well. You can't go and get a 30-foot diving plug and expect to run that through 20 feet of water, especially if there's relief up 5 or 10 feet off of that. So just matching that plug right.
And to follow up with that, James, what you mean is like most of these, like everybody's heard the term stretch, right? Like a stretch 30, a stretch 20, a stretch 25, and really what that means is that's what that plug is sort of tuned to, in terms of the lip and the angle, and then basically the speed that they recommend you trolling it at. That's how you get to that point with the plug. So it varies. I mean, you can go a little faster, go a little slower, and literally move that plug 8-10 feet to get to where you need to be. And there's an art to it.
There's a speed thing, and that's what I think Bo touched on. He was wondering about speed. I'm 3 to 5 mile an hour too.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically, where's idle? All right, let me just change the noise of that engine just ever so slightly with the next little push up. But I tend to never vary speed, and I tend to always vary how much line I let back, whether it's 100 feet, 120 feet, 150 feet, or sometimes 60 feet if you're really shallow. You can also change, where that plug's going to ride in the water column.
Current is also a factor, because we used to do quite a bit of trolling, actually. I don't really do a whole lot of it anymore, but, current can make all the difference in the world. A lot of guys will troll up a channel and down a channel, and then some guys will zigzag across the edge, back and forth. And all that depends on, if you've got a rushing outgoing tide, you may have a tough time getting the plug where you want it to. But in 2 hours later, that plug, you may run down that same, track on your GPS and stroke them because the plug now can work the way that you want it to or where you think it is.
Yep, we noticed that. You could feel it. And I think the more you come in and do this, we're going to have to get these
what's
guys'
going on
opinions
what's
down
going on
here
at the
in a
peanut
second.
factory down here?
But you can feel it when you're pulling a plug and you're going down tide, up tide. You'll feel it. You'll see the rod, the action of the rod change. But
I have no opinion because I don't troll.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk a little bottom fishing.
Wait a second. I saw Jason trolling rule pumps today on Facebook.
I wasn't trolling.
He was trolling. He was trolling.
But
I was. People found.
No,
that.
y'all keep going.
Yeah.
We're not laughing. I'm not laughing
Very
because y'all are
helpful.
taking it. Go with it. I'm applauding that.
Well, here's what you got.
I'm just sitting here laughing because
let me take.
I don't.
Give me
This
10
is all
seconds.
new to
10
me.
seconds.
This is how I troll. I troll the trolling motor down in anchor mode, and then I drop reel bait down. That's how I grouper fish.
Hey,
I don't
and
like
that's
trolling.
another way to do it.
I certainly enjoy
I'm
bottom
down
fishing
with
like
that.
that too.
I'm
too.
down with that.
I don't.
That's the way I grouper fish. Throw
I-
that big hook down there.
This
What a
to
big
me
pinfish.
is strictly my opinion. It's not really fishing.
Oh,
it's
it's
like a
Oh,
fishing.
no, it
No,
is.
it's
Oh,
fishing.
no,
Hey,
it is.
My
there-
opinion. I
There
like
is
to
there
drop
is
bait
a
down.
skill and an art to that. Figuring it all out.
I want you to go sit and talk and sit in front of Vance Tice tell him that ain't fishing.
Hey,
No,
everybody's
that-
entitled
I'm
to
not
their
saying
opinion.
that.
All right, let me put it this
Don't
way.
get me confused
Put
with
it this
Jason on
way.
this one.
All right.
All right, I don't like to fish that way.
There you go.
You
Now,
call it what
yeah.
you want.
All right.
It's more of a
Yeah.
beer drinking event.
Listen,
but
and
which
I don't
ain't
like
a bad
to fish
thing.
that way
But it's
either.
that does take.
It's very effective.
But
I'm not going to knock it.
I will
I
tell
just
you
don't like
this: it's really effective.
It's
and you
very
can
So
do it
productive.
what Nick said, I don't even troll, but I've heard that that's very effective. A number 2 planer,
Yes.
and use the curly jig head, the big old jig heads.
My favorite color is bright pink for that.
Yep.
Bright pink.
Yeah.
But-
Again, my favorite is to drop the trolling motor down in anchor mode, but I have heard that a lot of people doing that with the plugs. I mean, it's good. Listen, it works. You want to catch grouper, you want to put meat on the table, it's going to work great.
I think it's a good alternative, and you look at our viewers on our show, and so I would say most of our viewers here are probably
Jason, will you?
they probably don't have a spot to go grouper fishing, or they don't have a bunch of them.
Yes.
Right.
This is a
I think a lot of
way.
people agree with
This
that.
is a way. Even I do it. Like we've got numbers that are on our machines, and you want to know a good way to go figure out if there's stuff on them. Go do a couple troll loops past them.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll do. Is so like when we trolled a lot in the bay, we would troll areas. I mean, all day long, troll.
Nab a
You'd
fish,
hit a
mark it.
spot. You'd hit a spot. You know, a few fish there. You mark it. Next day you go back, or a week later you go back and you drop baits down on that spot. So you can actually increase the area that you cover and find fish. You know, and actually find a good place to go bottom
I'll tell
fish.
you what, I've
got
a few numbers from Friday that I'll be going back with some big pins and checking them out.
Yeah.
Because that's like you said, you catch a fish, mark it. You catch some big fish, mark it. I mean,
There's a
Oh,
reason
I'm
why
not
they're there.
saying it's not it's very productive and effective. There's no doubt about it. I just don't like doing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Not my thing.
Me.
Simple.
Me
I
and
wouldn't
you.
call it not fishing. It's kind of like
You did though.
You did.
It was said.
Well, I think the word were, it's not actually
stick it in a
fishing.
rod holder.
pretty
you
sure
go
that's
3
like
to 5 mile an
right
hour. And
what
you
he
swerve
said.
in and out of the shipping
Hey,
channel.
put some tunes on.
That's
grab
why
a
I wanted to
beer.
do it with you the other day,
Yeah.
and I missed. I mean, I just couldn't go with
Yeah.
the times that our time framed it.
Jason, I
But
agree
I
with you.
actually wanted to do that because I was looking forward to kind of seeing how that
Yeah.
all.
I don't
played
do
out.
it a lot, but I also don't group.
But
them
when
a
I
lot.
do-
But when I
But
do.
when I do.
Yeah. No, but I don't do
You're
it
not
a whole lot.
sport fishing trolling, are you?
No.
Okay.
All right.
Point made.
But
Point made.
it's I had fun doing it. It was something I hadn't done in a long time. I used to, have a particular area I did it, and it was too rough to go there. So I was like, shoot,
Yeah.
I'll stay inside the bay. It's one of those things that I'll tell you what. There's a lot of grounds inside the bay if you do some homework, and you can find some structure in that 20 to 30 foot range. Get a plug, tie it on, and go tow it behind the boat.
What was that
You'll
guy?
find some new stuff. I mean,
I
I learned.
when we did radio like 8 years ago, we had a guy that would come in occasionally.
It was Vance Tice.
No. It wasn't Vance. This guy, I don't even know if he ever. No, we did because I remember we picked him up on the way.
Oh,
He was a big time grouper guy in the bay.
Charlie was the name. Charlie.
no. Brain fart. Bought one of my motors.
Didn't he have like like an animal name to his boat or something like Kitty Hawk or something?
What'd you say?
I don't know. I'm just
Kitty
Kitty
litter?
Hawk, Kitty Hawk, or something like that. What was that guy's name? He was from Ruskin.
From Ruskin? No.
Yeah. We picked him up one day. He lived over there close to where you live
Oh, Fish Hawk.
Fish Hawk. Fish Hawk. Yeah,
Larry,
see,
Larry.
Good.
Larry.
He was the
Larry.
troller, and he was from up north.
now. And he caught big fish, man.
yeah, Larry.
Big
used to-
fish.
that was Danny's. That was Danny's buddy.
We're the peanut gallery. 'Cause we're reminiscing.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Good
It's the
times.
old
Good
days.
times.
The old days, yeah, the old days. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a grouper troll. That's what he did in the bay, like all the time.
Did you ever tell him he wasn't really fishing?
I just told him I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I did tell him.
It's also something you can mix a day up with, like especially for what we do. If you want to go and do some inshore for a while and then hit that, So
Yeah.
something I'm going to definitely incorporate. I think a little bit more. Haven't done it again, and you don't need to invest a day into this. I mean, I was on the water at 8, off the water at 10.
So let's talk a little bit. So everybody knows you get a big old meat stick.
Yeah.
You put some braid or some mono on it. You come down to
You get the
Tampa
bigger-
Fishing Outfitters.
Get
You
a
grab
plug.
you a couple plugs.
Bud Light.
What can we serve up, to sort of point somebody in the right direction as to, all right, let's just say everybody knows let's go to the shipping channel. Let's go to the shipping channel. Well, there's a lot of shipping channels,
Mhm.
right? But there's some similarities between all the shipping channels,
Yeah.
right? Which one is there's depth
And there's rocks.
and there's
Yeah.
there's rocks, there's an edge, and there's a shallow part to it.
Yep.
And so what I've noticed is,
Could've
no
kept John on here.
no secret, but those fish are on the edges,
Mhm.
right? So those fish are literally sitting on that drop
They're
off
not laid at the bottom.
from
They're not laid at
say
the,
18 to 12 to 40 feet,
Mhm.
right? Those fish are living in those depressions, are living in those cavities, those caverns that are on the edges of those channels. And so the guy that's trolling down the middle of the channel, I'm not going to say he's not going to catch fish.
You ain't gonna
There's
catch-
rock piles.
You ain't gonna catch many.
There's rock piles, and there's some structure where those fish will sit in certain areas.
he's
But
not going to catch as many as the guy bumping that
And
edge.
he
You're
has a
daggum
better
right.
chance of running into the ship.
that's the guy. That's the guy that's going to crush it. Is the guy that's fishing that edge of the
Yeah.
channel.
Oh, yeah,
And
well,
so I've done some seminars and stuff, and that question comes up, and it said, "Well, go troll the shipping channel."
You never
right?
made the recommendation to troll the middle of the shipping channel, have you?
I didn't.
Okay,
No,
just making sure.
no.
Please
but-
sign this waiver.
just to give some food for thought for the guy that wants to give it a shot. You want to be on the edges of those channels. You want to be on those breaks from, depth, shallow to deep. That's where those grouper are going to be.
Yeah.
And then what I like to do is I like to zigzag that.
Yeah.
I don't try to run. I've seen guys in like Port Manatee Channel is notorious for it. The guy says, I'm going down that line right there, and I ain't moving. And he's going to run down that line. For me personally, in some of those areas, I like to zigzag and bounce that plug up and down. Jason, you and I know both 12 to 18 feet of water has big grouper in it, especially on the edges of the shipping channels. And so there's a lot of times where I'll find that sweet spot trolling where maybe it's the tide, maybe it's a slack tide, heavy outgoing, incoming. That's going to move those fish just like our inshore fish, redfish, snook, and trout. They're not always going to be sitting in the same exact spot. They may move around a little bit. And so if you haven't, done this type of trolling or, fishing, then I like to zigzag and catch that edge. You may notice that and mark a waypoint. Every time you get a bite, mark a waypoint or you catch a fish. And you can literally track yourself and go, man, we've gotten all of our bites on the shallow side of the channel or the deeper side of the channel. And then correlate that to an incoming and outgoing tide, whatever the case may be. And so don't just get out there and drag plugs around.
Yeah.
Try to at least make conscious decisions. Adjust your speed.
Learn from it.
Adjust the angle of the boat, et cetera, et cetera. The one neat thing, I'm going to throw a Suzuki plug in here. I know you guys have got it too, but I found it really useful last year when we did some kingfish trolling, is the troll mode switch. So on the Suzuki, you can, once the motor's warmed up, you can hold the troll mode button down. It locks the boat into troll mode. You can literally bump it, and it bumps the motor RPMs by, I want to say it's 300 RPM.
No. No.
I think it's 300, or
Well,
maybe 100.
You can adjust Mercury. You can bring it down 100 at a time, but
it may even be 100. I don't remember now. I've only used it like 2 or 3 times.
100 RPM.
What's that?
No,
Your motor won't
increments of 100.
No, increments of 100.
Probably 100 because your
No, I'm
motor
saying, like-
typically idles at 850.
Yeah, no. You can't get down to 100 RPM. I'm saying, let's just say you set your.
It's probably 100 though.
I think it is.
300 would be a big drop.
I agree. So I think it was 100. I may have misspoken, but anyhow,
We all agree it's 100.
It's more. It's less than what you could do if you push the throttle. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Okay. And so what we found out when we were offshore trolling for kingfish was, we'd set the boat up. Let's say I look at the GPS. I'm running 3 miles per hour. Okay, or whatever the case may be, and you bump it up a little bit, and you get a bite. Well, you can sort of dial that in and get real close to it, because there's times where the current, the tide will bump you, and you can't leave your throttle just sitting there. A lot of guys will want to set that and just keep their throttle there, but if you don't have troll mode, you're doing this all day long, keeping that at 3 mile, 4 mile an hour. You're constantly adjusting it. With that troll mode button, it was really easy.
Well,
I mean, bump up, bump down.
My new boat has troll mode, and I was just like, I don't know, or something.
You didn't use it?
I know. I'm just there. I just always use the throttle, but
and I'm sort of the same way. And it may be 50. Don't count me on that, but it's a small increment.
Well, Yamaha.
It may be 50 on the Suzuki. I don't remember.
They're all probably going to be the same. I thought it was 100. I've never even used it. I know the features there. You can adjust your RPM. And that also is going to help you too, with depending on your propping. And that sounds weird, but example, if you're running a Mercury Eco prop, I can tell you right now, my boat will idle 2 mile an hour faster than with another prop, because the prop is so big it pushes water. Doesn't sound a lot, but if you're trolling, that feature is going to come in. It's going to come in nice. Or sometimes if you're slow trolling for, I don't know, sailfish or something like that, they do a live, or a kingfish, they'll do a live bait, slow
live throw, live troll, yeah.
So, and again,
I really enjoy live bait trolling. That's probably one of my.
It's an exciting
I've even done it grouper fishing near shore. Is
dropping.
Taking the way I like to do it, and it sort of adds to this guy. So if you don't want to do plugs, you can certainly troll live bait. We've got a lot of big greenbacks and even some threadies still around. And what I like to do is nose hook the bait. And a lot of times, man, I just put an egg sinker on it, and just a slip sinker, and let it roll. And what you'll find is that speed, you'll find a certain speed where you're not really pulling the bait. You're just kind of dragging it. If you're yanking the bait, you're going to kill them. You're not going to get the action, et cetera, et cetera. But, you can find a sweet spot. We've even done it for tarpon.
I just anything with trolling and it's just me personally, is not never.
It's just covering ground.
I mean, even like I've done dolphin in the Keys on a charter when I was a kid, and I was like, we're trolling and trolling and trolling.
I have trolled because we
And
did that in the
trolling.
Keys.
Yeah.
I have trolled.
Yeah.
There you
before.
go.
We were on a big boat.
How
I was
about
on like
that?
a,
With outriggers.
Yeah. Yeah, I caught the biggest
Yeah,
dolphin on the boat when I was
forgot
like
about that.
13. It was like a 40-something pounder, but we
Biggest
trolled
one.
for a
Look at that,
long
trolling.
time.
See, told you.
But it was like you stood there, the fish hooked up, the guy you get the trailer guy who gives you the fish,
Here, reel
and
this in.
reel it in. I'm like,
And hold him there.
I really had no part in that. But
You know,
okay.
somebody else who's been tearing up grouper lately is Gunner, and he commented that he likes slack tide best.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I will say,
In between the
you know, my
tides.
bite got really good on Friday. It was right between two tides.
If
So,
you want to, if
we
you
can
want to,
end on that, and
let me
100%.
Let me say this: if you want to learn how to grouper fish, one of the best in the bay on live bait, not trolling, is Todd Fouché. And Todd actually did a show with us that's on our YouTube page, and you can go back. That's like as Travis says, our vault for videos. But you can go back on our YouTube page, just search Tampa Fishing Outfitters Fishing Report. And you can go on there and actually see that video on grouper fishing in the bay. We didn't cover a lot on trolling, but and Todd talked a lot about the in-between tides, the start and the stop and the slack. And he's, I mean, that's all Todd does. He don't really inshore fish no. I see him all the time out there.
Yeah.
He doesn't guide anymore. But grouper fishing for us is fun, but you have to have the right clients. And sometimes it's tough. But Todd has really got that dialed in. So
It's
if you guys want to
just-
go back and check our YouTube page, it's
Just like our snapper fishing, when we talk about snapper fishing in the summertime,
Yeah.
you know, the bay, you know, it gets tied not like inshore. You know, inshore fish use it as a forage time. They use it as a time to feed when the water's pushing out, and they're forced to move around
Yeah.
most of the time. When you get into the bay, you got stronger currents,
Yeah.
and those fish don't have to move. They don't have to. They can sit right where they're at. You know what I mean? Most of them choose
Brian
to.
just touched on that.
but-
Like, that's their time to poke their head
Exactly.
Up, see what's going on. I don't have
Yeah.
to worry about this rip current. So
Exactly.
well, good deal.
One thing I wanted to throw out, and I didn't even talk to you guys about this. We're in wintertime. A lot of maintenance going on boats in between when you can't fish. It's a good time to get ready for spring. I'm going to talk to Loadmaster and see if I can get a hub and a spindle. I'd like to break down maybe going through your trailer bearings and stuff and seals. Maybe we'll actually do it on the show. Something people aren't doing.
I'd be happy to do that.
And
happy you guys do that.
we'll show them what we can do is we'll bring some gloves in, we'll lay some stuff out, and we'll show them the old school way how to pack bearings.
There you
Yeah,
go.
let's
on
do
here.
it.
Well, maybe we'll do that. See if I can get a hub and all that, and go over the differences and kind of help people on the maintenance. Maybe bring a prop in, show them what to check, what not to check, and
I'm with you.
we'll kind of go through a maintenance session here.
I'm
coming
sensing
in.
you haven't done this.
The bearings and stuff,
Yeah.
not in a preventative maintenance, but like in on the way to the ramp in a parking lot with a wheel that fell off. That type of is that
Gotcha.
maintenance?
Gotcha.
I've had to do that.
That's
type
like
of,
past
hub.
maintenance.
That's reactive
Yeah,
maintenance.
so reactive maintenance. I've done a lot of that with like hubs and bearings, but none of
Yeah.
the preventative stuff.
Well, we'll go over the breakdown of a hub and show you the difference and what yearly stuff you need to do. Maybe we'll go over some props, and
Yeah.
we'll do like a maintenance show on your boat or
Let's do it.
preventative stuff. And I could bring in a bunch of pumps that are broke too. We can show you what happens when.
All right.
Manny, the best scuppers that I know of, you're talking about the ball scuppers.
Yeah.
They're going to be the Rad Buds, I think is what they're called.
Ray buds, but same deal.
Raid Bud. How do they say it?
Ray buds.
Ray. It's got a D in there.
No, yeah, RABUDS, doesn't it?
Rab Dud. What is it?
Ray buds.
Rab Dud.
I thought it had a. I'm gonna have to look that up now.
Well, Google it
Ray
when we go to
Buds.
commercial.
Ray
When we come
Buds.
back,
Let's
we
go to
got some
commercial.
cool
Whatever the
gift
hell it
ideas
is.
for the anglers you're out there shopping for. But we need a break. We're going to do some Google, and we're going to find out who's right.
Yeah. What is it?
All right, we're back. Tampa Fishing Outfitters Live Fishing Report. And the
yeah.
subject's been trolling for the last 20 minutes. And I think our Troll of the Evening award is going to go to Brian Major
Yeah.
with the Do You do high-speed pickups break pumps?
As
That's the lesson in
it's
trolling
on,
right there.
on the top of the
There you
pump.
go.
I guess so. You can't use pumps on high-speed pickups
No,
anymore.
I've seen that before. Yeah, it's been there, and I've always wondered why they say that. But
Well, I actually talked to the engineer.
Yeah.
I got straight from the horse's mouth, and it wasn't the right answer.
well, what we've got. So we promised gift guide. The name of those
They are
scuppers were
Raybud.
Spell it for Manny.
Rabud.
What kind of scupper is it?
Rabud. Rabud. Raybud? I
Raybud.
don't know.
R-A-B.
They're the ball
Yeah.
plunger or the ping
Yeah,
pong
but
ball
they're not.
scuppers.
The problem is they get grass in them.
Yep.
I had them years ago.
These are the best ones though. If you're gonna get them,
I
because
like 'em.
TH Marine makes them, and so does
Yeah, but
there's another
they're
company
probably
that makes
still
them.
not
Marco,
that good, is what I'm
Marco
saying.
or something.
Depending
Whatever.
on how low your boat is, I had problems with the ones like that. I mean, they worked okay, but you would get trash in them, and then the ball wouldn't seal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That'll
it's
happen.
certainly got a.
TH Marine also has an inline one that you can put in a hose, and it's not that great either. It's the same problem. What happens is you throw your net, grass goes through there, it gets stuck on. That's actually like a flapper. Actually, I have them in my boat. They put them in the Pathfinder, but they work good in my boat only because the water line is pretty high to where almost don't need them, but they're almost like they're just there to help.
Mhm.
But it's the same thing. You get grass or trash around that area. If you were running clean water out of your faucet,
Mhm.
they'd all work great. But that's in a perfect world. So
Sure.
they're going to help, but they're just don't expect them to fix the problem totally. I think they're going to just help
Got it.
on the ball valves.
Well, there you go. As promised, we want to talk about some gifts. So, with the store for the month of December, if you follow Tampa Fishing Outfitters, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it might be, you're going to notice every single day there's a gift idea that they're putting out there. And this is for, we're not doing rods, we're not doing reels, that's stuff that most anglers go out and buy themselves. They don't really need that as a gift. Or if they want it as a gift, they're saying, honey or mom or whatever, I want a Shimano Stella or I want a G Loomis fly rod. They're pretty specific about it. But a lot of these people, a lot of the shopping and a lot of the questions we get in the store is, I want to get a gift for Rick, who's got all the fishing rods and reels he could ever need, or all the boat products.
Well, what'd you get me, man?
So what we did is we made these little gift
You're
bundles.
gonna get me a rain jacket, aren't you?
A rain jacket. You're right. All right, we're gonna do a rain jacket review coming up.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what we did is we made it kind of easy, thought outside the box a little bit, and everybody in the store kind of has like their own specialty and what they do most, right? So Pam, who she's 100% artificial at all times, fishes out of a kayak. She put together like an inshore basket, like a gift box. So let's say that you've got somebody out there that's either new to fishing Tampa Bay or maybe doesn't fish, only fishes live bait right now, and they've been hearing, oh, the wintertime bite's great on artificials. Something you can get them is just like an inshore gift box, right? So it's full of all kinds of goodies there,
Well,
Jason.
let's open one of these
open
bad
it
boys
see
up.
what it is. But the nice thing we're doing is we're including the box with it and giving you a discount. So like if you add all this stuff up, you're going to be
These
paying
are
like
awesome.
paying like $100. Well, face them that way. I know they're awesome, but like
These are cool.
those are cool.
Snake locks.
These are cool.
Snake.
These are cool.
Do they work?
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Used
right.
them.
Even better.
Got them. I got them.
What is it?
They're for
Here, I'll get a
doing-
close up on some of the stuff that's
they're
out there.
for doing.
Oh, I'm gonna pick one that I
like
like.
a Texas.
Something I would
Screw turn,
recommend would
but they have
probably
a
be
weight,
that guy
so
right
you can get
there.
'em with different
I mean,
size
that-
weights. These are probably
Hey.
That guy right there. If you can't catch fish on that, then you should probably go trolling with Grouper or
Well, I
Jason.
think if you were to play around with this, everybody would say that about something in here. DOA shrimp is a staple. These are my ticket right there. You can throw any color you want as long as it's black and gold. DOA Cal series. There you go. Some Houdinis, Jason. Don't you like
Yeah,
Houdini?
Houdini, that's the
so
color,
some
man.
Houdini scented Z-Mans, stick
That
shad.
mixed with that right there on a weedless setup is
That's the ticket.
game changer.
But the point is this is a nice little box. If you don't know anything about fishing, you're coming here to
That's
buy
pretty
something
cool.
for somebody.
I like that.
Yep.
It's the realest shrimp I think I've ever seen.
That's a new
Besides
one.
a real shrimp.
So that's the inshore box. So for $69.99, you get the box, everything that's in it. Normally it's going to retail about $89, $99. So I mean, you're saving some money, and it's a one-stop pop.
I
You
like
can
these
wrap that up.
boxes too with the seal. I
Mhm.
mean, nothing's watertight really, but these are a lot better for your artificials.
Right.
I really do like.
I've got 3 of these in my boat.
They're pretty good.
That I keep. Like I've got one that's got all my corks and spare leader.
Right.
And I've got one that's got. I've got 2 small dry boxes that I put my large hooks and my small hooks in, and then I've got another one that's got some artificial lures and plugs and stuff. You know, I always keep one on the boat. I mean, obviously we don't throw a lot, but you're right. These if you're gonna buy tackle boxes or storage containers, make sure they've got that seal in them.
Seal.
They're a couple bucks more, but worth their weight in gold.
Yeah. We just
I
got
might
a
actually need to
huge
do
shipment of
that.
some new ones from Plano that are pretty dope. Like you're gonna like them when you see them.
I might
Yeah.
need to get a few of these.
I've kept all my
Good thing is we got some here.
Yeah.
gear,
No leader, Kenny.
my bulk gear. I keep that. I
There
got
was
3
no
of these
leader
in my
in there.
hatch, and I keep everything in there.
But you're welcome to get some with it. We can tell you what you need. It's gonna be real light leader right now. All right, so get the inshore flats gift pack out of the way.
Get that out of here, Rick.
Throw
Next,
it.
we've got everybody's favorite bass fisherman, the Hap special. Hap put together a Z-Man bait binder full of all kinds of goodies for the bass world.
I like
right?
it.
So
All
it's
right.
$59.99. Normally, everything in there is going to
All
be
I
over
know
80
is there
bucks.
better be red shad and June
Culprit.
bug.
Better be some red
Better be
shad
some red
culprit
shad and
in
June
there.
bug
I
in
like
here.
that little hole.
Or-
man. I
or
didn't
me
know
and
they had
Hap.
that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to Joey.
We're gonna
Hey,
have to
maybe
talk.
put it over here.
Yeah.
Well, I got to look
We're
first.
actually looking at this.
Okay.
Oh, you want us to share this? With
Yeah,
the
if you want to pick one out, we'll get you one.
Nah, I don't need that.
Bass box.
If
All
that,
right.
if that
Open
was
it up.
Travis's, it would have had 15 packages of
A red shad and-
317.
So let's see. Let's go through it. All right.
Some nice.
So we got some cross-eye
Cross size.
swim jigs. I like fishing swim jigs for bass. So a couple different colors. Jackhammer works great here. Also, anytime that these guys are going to Louisiana, a million of them come in here and buy every one of these that we have
My
in
nickname.
stock. Yeah. We've got a
Spinner bait.
sling blade, spinner bait,
That's Rick's name.
and then tons
Mustard and biscuits.
of Z-Man
I like that.
products, right? So we got fatties, we got sawtail worms, we got minnows, diesel minnows,
Yeah. Now we're talking.
razor shads,
Oh, get me
bad
excited.
shad color. Look at these. I like these turbo craws. I want to put those on one of those swim jigs. Drop it down, and then a mag fatty, right? So you add all that up. Normally you'd be looking at 80 bucks, $59.99. So if you got, this is a good thing if you want to get, if you've got like a teenager in the house who's getting into fishing.
Yeah.
This is like a
Good
a
package.
really good pond kit.
Yeah.
These dark colors.
Making
couple
everybody
shads in
dizzy,
there.
James.
Making everybody dizzy. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here. So that's the bass one. So $59.99.
Retail
What's
just
the
on the
Yeah,
bag.
what's the bag? Just the bag cost.
Just the bag is like $14.99 or $15.99.
It has a price tag
It
on it.
actually has a price tag on it. Maybe. $14.99.
14.9. Man, he knows his product.
I do. And the last one.
Oh, we got
make some
more.
room for
There's
me.
more.
Well, not the last one. One other one we have is
Oh,
a
God.
boater's gift bag.
Oh,
Not the
bucket.
bucket.
Dude, it's a Yeti
this bucket
bucket.
is legit.
Dude,
It
it
was
is a
legit when
bucket.
it won product of the year.
Hey, it
wasn't
won though. I mean,
It
what,
got a
what
lot
can
of
you say?
attention.
It won.
Bruce
Oh.
Jenner.
What do we got?
So
Coming
this
out?
is going to be for the boater, right? So this is going to be a little kit. It's $89.99, I believe. And normally this stuff is going to be like $120.
$40
bucks.
Bruce
bucket.
Jenner got woman of the year too,
But
but
it's going to be what it's going to give you is a nice Yeti bucket. Retails at $40 on its own to keep everything in. But you're going to get some Booyah products from Booyah Clean. So boat wash, non-acid instant hole cleaner.
This is
got
what
a
I was
really
looking for.
Funny story about a customer that came in the other day with his boat outside. I'll get in that in 1 second. You get some cleanse oil, what you need, man, for all your metal parts inside the boat, your gear, whatever it is. That's going to keep the corrosion off it. Definitely want to be treating the boat with that. And some good old all-purpose cleaner, degreaser. That's actually my favorite product they do out of the Booyah. And you get the Yeti bucket.
I've heard a lot of buzz about the Booyah stuff. I haven't got to use any
It's
of
good
it.
stuff.
Pretty good stuff.
So it's all environmentally friendly. So it meets an EPA Safer Choice Award. There was a big thing on Facebook today. They won a huge award in the marine industry
Awesome.
today for something about it. But anyways,
And you guys sell this? I'm
yeah, we
assuming,
sell it
since
all.
you-
I mean, you get this whole.
They
like,
make this in a bulk, right? You can get this in like a gallon. The
So
hull
it's
cleaner.
great.
Yeah.
No, it's like 2 gallons. I
Oh,
think.
really?
It might be bigger. I don't know.
Okay.
It's bigger than a gallon. So we had a customer come in with his flats boat the other day. And he's like, man, do y'all have anything that could get these stains off my boat? And Keaton, the guy in the fly shop, was like, yeah, man. I heard this stuff is like legit. And he's like, can I try it first? Put Keaton on the spot. And Keaton's never used it before. He's like, yeah, well, James said it works pretty good. So takes it out there, sprays it, and literally as it's dripping down, you see the drip lines of it. So the guy came in. He's like, I've never seen anything like this. How much? Give me 3 of these.
Well,
went out there and just did it in the parking lot, sprayed it all down.
The big thing, though,
left.
is it supposedly doesn't have the numeric acid in it.
Yeah, exactly. So if it's going to get in your trailer, it's not going to give you a big problem or any of the metal stuff. But yeah,
Rick,
good
you
product,
could use
man.
a bottle or two of that.
Definitely good product.
I don't use
Numeric acid?
Yeah.
Numeric.
Snowball, baby.
I think we should take our like a rubber glove with some of that. We could put like letters on the side of his boat.
Yeah.
I use
Capt
boratic
Rick.
acid,
Right.
but
Yeah.
Right.
but numeric acid.
Just give me
I mean,
Just give me some
Erratic,
finger
sorry.
graphics. But it's under the water line, so it don't matter.
So I mean, all this you added up, normally be $120. So I mean, if you've got somebody who's got a boat,
Yeah,
It's
but
always
40
the
of that's
smart
in the
guy.
bucket.
40 that's in the bucket. But if you're getting the discount, is it really?
It really is.
Not numerically.
Yes,
Not-
you're paying 40 for the bucket and getting everything else for the cheaper
So
price.
what's the
Well, you know what?
contents in this?
Rick, I don't know what to say, but the bucket. I like the bucket. The bucket won't slip around on your deck.
Rick,
Man, that's awesome.
you need one of these,
Yeah.
Rick.
Guess what? We
Don't
all
fight
know
it.
what we're getting Rick for Christmas.
Don't fight
I'm
it,
going to
brother.
tell you right now. I'm
Don't fight
paying.
it.
Rick's still got a Coleman.
Drink one and prove it. No, I'm not doing that.
Down the hatch,
Down
bro.
the hatch. I don't know about that. But that's it. Those are just a sample. Like, so if you were to come in, there's an offshore bundle. There's a
You done?
kayak bundle. There's a, if you're a pier guy or an trolling guy, there's bundles for that. So thing is what we're trying to do is make it easy for somebody to come
Is
in
there a
and shop
bait
for
bundle?
you. There's not. Well, yeah.
Like a net with chum and a chum slinger?
You get a chum slinger and a thing of chum. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
See? I
Yep.
knew there was one.
Of course.
Have any of y'all been doing any triple? I don't.
Justin, I am going next week. We have a triple tail trip set up. We're going to go run the strings out in the Gulf. And last year we were real successful. So we got 2 days set up. We're going to be doing some grouper digging near shore, and we're going to be running some traps to hopefully find some big triple tails. Last year we got quite a few, and so I'm looking forward to it. You know, a lot of guys will fish the stone crab traps, the strings, you know, and you can be really successful at it. I don't see it as beneficial like early in the season when they first set the traps, but going into this time of year, those traps have now been out for a while. Those lines have gotten some growth on them, and those bigger triple tail seem to be kind of lurking out there in the Gulf. So to answer your question, no, I have not been catching any triple tail, but they're definitely around, and we're getting ready to go do it next week. So
Ken's
I'll have a
been
report
signing
for you. Yeah,
There
they
you go.
should be there.
All right.
We went out a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
a month ago or
Month
two
ago, we
ago,
got 'em, yeah.
and we got a few. So
They weren't there the last time I went, though.
no, I looked too.
All right, well, that's it for tonight, guys. You know, there's other bundles in there. I saw your question about the kayak one. There definitely is. I don't have it upstairs with me right now, but give us a call at the shop or stop by. We'd be happy to show it to you. But that's all I've got for tonight. I'm
You
ready
did
to go
good.
Get some wings.
Let's do it.
Wing
Meet us
time?
at the Wing House.
Meet us at the Wing House. Let's do it.
Until next week.
Until
Till
next
next
week.
week.
$1 bucket.
Captain
Guys,
Rick,
sign
Captain
off.
Jason, Captain Travis, Captain James. We're out of here.
Still $40.
See you guys.
Out.
Joseph was point on there.
You got to turn it off.